And I thought to myself, am I on the right page? Because I thought that this was already the game that had already come out, the remastered version. And then I had to double check just to make sure that there was no more information on said page. And it turns out that was the latest PS5 version.
Would you like to pay £70 for a game from 2013 with some nicer visuals?
I feel really bad because I know that work has gone into this.
Yes,
and I know that they are basically polishing an already brilliant gem. But at the same time, I don't want to pay £70 for this experience alone. I feel like it looks amazing. The combat does look really slick, but it doesn't look any different from what I've already played. So I do have to look at it and be like, why for this price? Could it not have been a slightly discounted price?
I think it's a weird. I don't think it's a cash grab. I think that label sort of is too reductive to, like Joel said, the the amount of work that's been put in. But I do see the argument of, like that general idea that when it was revealed, that idea of it having new combat mechanics and having new gameplay systems, and a lot of people assuming that that would mean you've taken Last of Us 2's engine or Last of Us 2's combat and put that into Last of Us 1. Now, apparently, according to the PlayStation Store listing, it has been remade from the ground up using their newer game engine. But in terms of how it plays, it looks like it plays the same as Last of Us 1, which is fine. That's still one of my favorite games of all time. But I think £70, like you said, is too egregious for a visual overhaul.
Yeah, I agree. And while I watched some of the combat play out, I did notice slight differences here and there. I would say that the aiming and animations do seem a lot more fluid. The flow between close combat and ranged didn't seem as clunky as it sometimes could be, because I don't know about you, but I had a few instances on the original version of the game where you would basically shoot, they'd get too close, oh dear, try and get out a melee weapon, but then you'd like almost have to be in the right angle.
It was very chunky.
So you'd end up just sort of like missing entirely and be like, okay, I'm dead now because of that.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those things where I always really loved Last of Us 1's combat. I get that a lot of people don't like it and they have qualms like what you just said. I always really liked that feel of Joel as like almost like a walking fridge. Like he's so heavy and chunky and has so much momentum and everything. But yeah, looking at the remake stuff, and it's over on Resetera at the minute. It'll probably get taken down, but there's a few gameplay clips out there showing the remake. But like you said, when you first put it on, I had the exact same thing of like, has someone inserted a clip of the old Last of Us as a comparison? It's like, oh no, that is actually the remake. I had the same reaction to the initial screenshots, but obviously if you side by side them, you can tell it's the remake. There has been work put into it, but it doesn't blow you away.
I feel like if we're being honest, and I feel like that's what Naughty Dog needs to do with its customers, is that the use of the word remade from the ground up is something that really does need to be banned unless it's actually true, because it just stinks of hyperbole. Like what they've actually probably done is they've taken it back to a design core elements, when you've got all of your like wireframe sketches of the city and stuff like that, and applied their new graphics engine or physics engine over the top of that. That technically is being remade from the ground up at that point. You technically can stamp your organic seal of approval onto that, but it's not actually true in the sense of what it creates in the mind of a consumer. Remade from the ground up means you went back to literally the code and went back and started rewriting that to begin it anew. Whereas this is very much plonked on shell, it feels like. But again, I feel like cash grab, possibly too much. It's not the FIFA Legacy editions for the Switch that Switch owners are still enjoying.
No,
FIFA
it's
18 now, I think that they're on. It's definitely not that.
I think it's like there's a distinction to be made in terms of like the cash grab part is not the core of the production. Obviously, the production has meticulous amounts of effort being put into it. It's a worthwhile game to exist and a worthwhile re-release to exist. The cash grab part is maybe that extra 10, 20 pounds when you could have sold it for 50 or you could have sold it for 40. That's the grabby part, not the core of it.
With that caveat added to it, then I actually probably would err on saying, yeah, it is much more of a cash grab in that sense, because like you say, 20 quid on top of what I would feel comfortable paying maybe 45 to 50 pounds for this. Adjusting for inflation on top of a game that I paid £40 for originally. So I can't...
It's like a reach. It's sort of like, well, we're going to see what we can get away with. It is The Last of Us. We do have the HBO show coming up. Last of Us 2 still sold very well. And we do have the multiplayer game coming. So it is one of our top tier franchises. Let's see if we can sell it for £70. And I guess we'll just see how that goes. The general reception, even to when they ended, I think it was the PlayStation Experience show, whatever it was, when they announced it was the Summer Games Fest. When they announced Last of Us 1 Remake, the general reception was, oh, okay, like, sure. Like, you're ending the show on a remake? Okay.
Yeah,
and
now it was a strange vibe, that was.
Yeah, and then now it's like, and it does play very similar, and it does, you know, it's not like that big of a crossover. It doesn't feel like it's from the ground up. So, and it's going to be £70. So I feel like it's in a weird space at the minute where it's we'll just see whether the silent majority of gamers overall do end up buying it for that amount. I also, I don't know about you, really don't like the new character models. I know that they're just taken from the flashback scene of Last of Us 2.
Yes.
But I way prefer the look of Joel and Ellie from 2013.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because I feel like Joel especially actually looks like in better shape in a weird way. He looks more like aesthetically pleasing, and I feel like a more haggard and run down version of him suits the actual storyline better. This is a man who's broken, and it's taken a literal emotional and physical toll on him. So it's like, now he's more, I don't know. Actually,
that's a really good point, because the model
he's aesthetically upbeat, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, the model they've taken, I imagine there'll be changes if you start zooming into his face and there's more scars on him, or more like a weathered sort of look to him or something. But in theory, the model they've taken is from the middle of Last of Us 2, the flashback scene. So when him and Ellie are hanging out at the museum, which is one of the heights of their relationship together. But you're inserting that into a point in The Last of Us 1 where they barely know each other, and he's still the guy that's coming off being a smuggler and a thief and someone who ambushed people for money and product and everything. So yeah, that's a really good point, that actually if you just insert that character model in, it does look a lot more sort of friendly or whatever.
He needs to look utterly bedraggled, like when you first meet him, because of the fact that he's got nothing left. Like there was literally no point for his existence other than pure survival instinct, and that needs to come across in the aesthetics. I feel like the softening of him made you perceive him differently as the game went on. So to start with that thing there, maybe we'll actually have a tonal implication that's actually detrimental to the overall experience.
I think that's a really interesting point. I think there's something about the Last of Us 1 remake. I think for me it's mostly the price. I just think the fact that they're hanging a premium price point on it is the thing that sort of makes me, and now that I've seen some of the gameplay, I go, oh well, this is just the same game again. Like, really, like, I mean, it's gonna look a bit better, but okay, it's, you know, I've done this. I've played Last of Us a bunch of times. I played the remastered version. Now it's the remake again. I think it's a hard line for them to walk, and I guess that's why they're not talking about the gameplay more, and it's had to leak. Because the more they show it, like, the more people are going to go, well, that's not worth
the less the hype actually is for it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's it's an interesting thing that we'll see shake out across the rest of this year. And there you have it. That was us trying a little clip from the Untitled Banter Podcast, a show that myself and Jules do every single week on a Friday. That's taken from the overall WhatCulture Gaming Podcast channel, where you can also find a show that myself and Josh do every Monday called The Wind Up, and the main WhatCulture Gaming Podcast itself every Wednesday. Please go across to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Podbay, whatever else you can think of, and subscribe to get all the latest episodes every single week. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com. Thank you very much for indulging our little experiment here, and when it comes to The Last of Us remake, well, it kind of feels like we're on the cusp of another Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition situation. Something where marketing has clearly taken on a life of its own, and a whole bunch of expectations are now coming from the consumer that directly clash with the way the game has been presented so far. Either way, let us know what you think down in the comments below, and we'll catch you soon.